They called him broken, unadoptable, dangerous. But one boy's hug changed everything. And what this Rottweiler did next saved an entire town. He didn't even lift his head anymore. The Rottweiler sat in the back of the kennel like a ghost. Scars on his muzzle, a torn ear, no name, just a number on a rusted cage. He didn't growl, he didn't whimper, he simply waited. Volunteers whispered about him. He's been here too long, too big, too strong. Probably had a rough life. People passed his cage every day, drawn instead to golden retriever puppies and wagging tails that screamed safe. But then came a boy, small, curious, just 6 years old. He wasn't afraid, he wasn't told to look away. He walked right up to the cage and said quietly, "That's him. That's the one." The shelter worker raised an eyebrow. "Sweetheart, you sure? He's not like the others." But the boy nodded. And before anyone could stop him, he reached through the bars. The Rottweiler didn't flinch. He didn't bark. He just lowered his massive head and pressed it gently into the boy's tiny hand. They named him Tank because he looked like one. But in truth, he was gentle, watchful, wounded, maybe, but not broken. Still, bringing him home wasn't simple. Tank didn't know where to sleep. He didn't trust doors. He'd retreat under tables when anyone raised their voice. The boy, though, he never gave up. He read him bedtime stories, brushed his coat while humming lullabies, taught him to sit using jelly beans, whispered into his ear, "You're my best friend now." Forever. Weeks passed, then months. Tank began to settle. He'd follow the boy like a shadow, nudging him softly when he fell or licking away tears after scraped knees. But it wasn't until that one terrifying night that the entire family realized just how far Tank was willing to go. It was supposed to be a quick trip to the school, science fair night. They left Tank at home with Grandma, who had trouble walking and usually stayed in the den. Nobody knew about the faulty gas line in the laundry room. Nobody heard the faint hiss. Nobody smelled the gas. But Tank did. By the time the family returned, the house was thick with smoke. The boy was the first to notice. "Why is Tank barking like that?" he asked. But it wasn't barking. It was deeper, louder, urgent, a warning. The father unlocked the door and was hit with heat. Flames were licking the walls, furniture crackled in the fire's grip. But Tank? He had already acted. With his jaws, he had gently dragged Grandma across the floor, away from the spreading fire, to the back door where the air was clearer. His paws were blistered, his fur scorched, but he stayed by her side, refusing to move, refusing to let go. When firefighters arrived, they called it a miracle, said they had never seen anything like it. 10 more minutes, they said, and it would have been too late. The smoke had filled every room, except the spot where Tank had shielded her. The next morning, Tank was front-page news. Rottweiler saves grandmother from fire. Reporters came, kids from school brought him treats. Local veterans shook his paw and called him a true protector. The mayor even offered Tank a key to the city. But Tank didn't care. He wasn't interested in fame or titles. He just curled up again at the foot of the boy's bed, exactly where he'd always belonged. Some people say Rottweilers are dangerous. Some say they're too unpredictable, too aggressive. But tell that to the boy who still sleeps peacefully at night, because his best friend is watching the door. Tell that to the grandmother who now keeps a framed photo of the dog who dragged her from the fire. Tell that to the town who saw a scarred, discarded shelter dog become the bravest soul among them. Years passed. Tank's muzzle grew gray. His steps became slower, but his eyes never lost that spark. The boy grew older too. He stopped needing jelly beans and bedtime stories, but he never stopped needing Tank. Not really. And when the day finally came, when Tank curled up beside his boy one last time, rested his head on his lap, and took a final breath, there wasn't a single dry eye in that home. They buried him under the oak tree in the backyard, the same spot where he once chased butterflies and lay in the sun. And every night, the boy, now a young man, still whispers at his window, "Good night, Tank," because some heroes don't wear capes, they wear fur, and they don't ask for glory. They just love endlessly. So the next time you walk into a shelter, don't overlook the dog with the scars. Don't skip past the one sitting quietly in the back, because sometimes the one nobody wants becomes the one nobody can forget.